So, good morning, my dear trainees. So, as being students of Master of Education, you are well aware about education in terms of meaning, concept, purpose, objectives, and so on. So, as you know, education is both the means as well as the end to a better life. It is a movement from darkness to light. Without education, people get caught in the intergenerational cycles of poverty and backwardness. So 7 decades have passed after independence, but still, India struggles to achieve a literacy rate of over 90%. So providing quality education to all children in the country should be the top priority of both the state as well as central government. And thus, the different departments of the government of India often support charities to bring more and more children under the ambit of their education initiatives. So here, non-governmental organizations also play a very important role in education sector. So today, let me pick up the lesson role of NGOs in education. So I seek your cooperation in this regard. So basically, non-governmental organization is any non-profit voluntary citizens group which is legally constituted, organized and operated on a local, national or international level. So they are tax oriented and driven by people with a common interest. In its broadest sense, the term non-governmental organization refers to organizations not based on government and not created to earn profit. The terminology of an NGO varies itself. For example, in the United States, they may be called private voluntary organizations, and most African NGOs prefer to be called voluntary development organizations. So it is impossible to give one unique definition for an NGO. Well, the World Bank defines NGO as private organizations that pursue activities to relieve suffering, promote the interests of the poor, protect the environment, provide basic social services, or undertake community development. Voluntary organization, on the other hand, is any organization that uses the human resources of volunteers for achieving its main purpose. International non-governmental organizations have a history dating back to 1839. However, the phrase non-governmental organization only came into popular use with the establishment of the United Nations Organization in the year 1945. Uh, Globalization during the 20th century gave rise to the importance of NGOs. So now let me further tell you about the definition of non-governmental organization is given by World Bank. So according to World Bank, the diversity of NGOs strengthens any simple definition. They include many groups and institutions that are entirely or largely independent of government and that have primarily humanitarian or cooperative rather than commercial objectives. So there are private agencies in industrial countries that support international development, indigenous groups organized regionally or nationally, and member groups in villages. So NGOs include charitable and religious associations that mobilize private funds for development, distribute food and the family planning services, and promote community organization. They also include independent cooperatives, community associations, water users societies, the women's groups, and the pastoral associations. Citizens groups that raise awareness and influence policy are also NGOs. Well, friends, many persons, many experts attempted to classify NGOs into different types on different bases. So to begin with, let me place before you the classification of NGOs on the basis of approach. So on this basis, there are 6 different types of NGOs. This include relief and water agencies such as missionary societies. Second type is technical innovations organizations. So organizations that operate their own projects to pioneer new or improve approaches to problems, generally within a specific field, are categorized under this type. And the third type third type of NGO that are classified on the basis of approach is public service contractors. So NGOs mostly funded by northern governments in United States that work closely with southern governments and officials at agencies, and these are contracted to implement components of official programs because of advantages of size and the flexibility. Uh, a fourth type is popular development agencies. So this type is also very popular in United States. Uh, Both northern and southern NGOs that concentrate on self-help, social development, and the grassroots democracy. Fifth one is grassroots development organizations. Uh, uh, these are mainly southern locally based development NGOs in USA whose members are poor or oppressed themselves and who attempt to save a popular development process. And these often receive funding from development agencies. And the sixth type, the last type in this category, is advocacy groups and networks. This include organizations without field projects that exist primarily for education and lobbying. NGOs are also classified on the basis of orientation, and to that extent, we can think of for different types. This includes charitable orientation, service orientation, participatory orientation, and empowering orientation. So charitable orientation often involves a top-to-down paternalistic effort with little participation by the beneficiaries. It includes NGOs with activities directed towards meeting the needs of the poor, distribution of food, clothing or medicine, the provision of housing, transport, schools, etc. So such NGOs may also undertake relief activities during a natural or man-made disaster. Uh, the second type, service orientation, includes NGOs with activities such as the provision of health, family planning, or education services, in which the program is designed by NGO and people are expected to participate in its implementation and in receiving the service. Third, participatory orientation is characterized by self-help projects where local people are involved, particularly in the implementation of a project by contributing kits or tools or land, materials, labor, etc. In the classical community development projects, participation begins with a neat definition and continues into the planning and implementation stages. Cooperatives often have a participatory orientation. And the fourth, last type under this category is empowering orientation. It is where the aim is to help all people develop a clearer understanding of the social, political, and economic factors affecting their lives and to strengthen their awareness of their own potential power to control their lives. So sometimes these groups develop spontaneously around a problem or an issue. At the times, outside workers from NGOs play a facilitating role in their development. In any case, there is a maximum involvement of the people with NGOs acting as facilitators. Again, NGOs may also be classified on the basis of the level of operation, and we can have for different types under this category. This include community-based organizations, city-wide organizations, national NGOs, as well as international NGOs. Community-based organizations, to begin with, arise out of people's own initiatives, right? So these can include sports clubs, women's organizations, neighborhood organizations, religious or educational organizations, and so on. So there are a large variety of these, some supported by NGOs, national or international NGOs, or bilateral or international agencies, and other independent of outside help. Some are devoted to raising the consciousness of the urban poor, or helping them to understand their rights and gaining access to needed service, while others are involved in providing such services. City-wide organizations include organizations such as chambers of commerce and industry, coalitions of business, the ethnic or educational groups, and associations of community organizations, while others are created for the specific purpose of helping the poor. Uh, well, then again, national NGOs uh, uh, include organizations such as the Red Cross societies, professional organizations, etc. And some of these have state and city branches and assist local NGOs as well. And at the top level, we have international NGOs. These range from secular agencies such as Reda, Biama, and the Save the Central organizations, Oxfam, CARE, Ford, and the Rockefeller foundations, to religiously motivated groups. So their activities vary from mainly funding local NGOs, institutions, and projects to implementing the projects themselves. Mind you, the term NGO is very broad and encompasses many different types of organizations. So to that extent, NGOs have three main categories, and these are group is operational NGOs, advocacy NGOs, and the humanitarian NGOs. So operational NGOs are NGOs whose primary purpose is the design and implementation of development-related projects, Center for Development and Population Activities. And the advocacy NGOs are those NGOs whose primary purpose is to define or promote a specific cause, and who seek to influence the policies and practices of countries. One good example is Amnesty International. And the third category is popularly known as humanitarian NGOs. Uh, uh, these group of NGOs are those NGOs whose primary purpose is to provide aid in disaster areas and alleviate suffering from poverty and diseases, for example, Red Cross Society. So, frankly speaking, uh, in this globalized world, NGOs play a very important role. NGO nationally and internationally indeed have a crucial role in helping and encouraging governments into taking the actions to which they have given endorsement in international forum. Increasingly, NGOs are able to push around even the largest governments. NGOs are now essentially important actors before, during, and increasingly after governmental decision-making sessions. So this long list organized here constitute the areas of interest of NGOs across the globe. This include environmental monitoring and reporting, protecting the environment, management of resources and the environment, community-based projects, providing basic social services, awareness raising, campaigning and advocacy, education, training and capacity building, government and NGO partnership, regional as well as international cooperation and networking. It includes engaging in suffering relief activities, promoting interests of the poor, advocating community development, environmental management plans, promotion of renewable energy, biodiversity and wildlife conservation, and as well as various other research activities and movements. So all these activities constitute the areas of interest of NGOs working in different countries of the world. Through the experiences gained from the working of various NGOs working in different countries of the world, it is identified that NGOs has certain specific targets. This include community health promotion and education in the areas of hygiene and waste disposal, managing emerging health crises in the areas of HIV/AIDS, hepatitis B, community social problems in terms of juvenile crimes, runaway, institutional prostitution, environmental areas like sustainable water and energy resources, economic areas in terms of microloans, skill training, financial education, consulting, development like school and infrastructure construction, and finally women's issues in the areas of women's and the children's right, consulting, counseling, literacy issues, and so on. As a matter of fact, various NGOs across the world performed a wide range of activities, and some of the common activities of NGOs include creating awareness, protecting human rights, encouraging rehabilitation, providing opportunities for gainful employment, combating man-made crises, and protecting the environment. So coming to India, uh, let us discuss how NGOs work in the country. Soon after independence, a number of NGOs had emerged in India. Mahatma Gandhi even pleaded to dissolve the Indian National Congress and transform it to a Lok Sabha Sangha, I mean public service organization, and this was the first phase of the creation of NGOs in the country. The second phase of NGO development started in the year 1960, and in the sixth five-year plan during 1980-85, a new role for NGO in the rural area in the rural development had been identified by the government of India, and subsequently in the seventh five-year plan during 1985 to 1990, the government of India envisages an active role of NGOs in developing self-reliant communities, and in the ninth five-year plan, it has been proposed that NGOs would play a significant role in the development on the public-private partnership model. Well, some of the NGOs working in the country are listed here, and this include Assam Science Society, Bombay Natural History Society, Center for Environmental Education (CEE), Center for Science and Environment (CSE), CPR Environmental Education Center, Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad, Kalpabix, the EcoWatch, Environment Support Group, etc. So these are some of the leading and the successful NGOs working on the soil of this vast nation. So it is found that NGOs work efficiently and effectively, particularly in rural areas. Uh, it is found that the working of NGOs, particularly in rural areas, is very effective, and it gives much benefits to rural folk. NGOs are specific to a particular locality, and side by side, NGOs are committed towards serving the public and the community as a whole. NGOs are playing vital role in the rural development of the country in collaboration with both the state as well as central governments. And as a matter of fact, there are approximately 25,000 to 30,000 active NGOs working in the country. Uh, well, now the question is why NGOs are needed to boost the spread of education in India. Yes, the answer is since India is a vast country, both geographically and demographically, government alone cannot bring all children into the fold of education. Even today, 17.7 million children in the country are out of school. The retention rate in schools is still abysmally low, and a large number of children drop out even before completing class 8. So the status of girls' child education is even worse, is the mindset that girls may not be educated as they are to be eventually married off still persists in the Indian society. In such a scenario, the role of the civil society becomes all the more important in order to ensure that the benefits of education reach the lowest strata of the society. Several non-governmental organizations have been working at the sheer grassroots level to extend education to underprivileged children in the country. Since independence, NGOs have been trying hard to strengthen the existing education system and the network in the country so that more and more children get opportunities to go to school and remain there. The best thing about NGO is that they work at the grassroots level, connecting with the masses and spreading awareness on the importance of getting good education to march ahead in life. You too can support an NGO to contribute your bit in educating the most disadvantaged children of the country and get donation tax benefit. How NGOs are contributing to the cause of education in India? So let me try to find out answer to this question for your benefit. NGOs like Save the Children have been spearheading the movement to provide quality education to the most marginalized and deprived children of India. So, with programs in the most remote and the marginalized areas of the country, the NGO ensures that the benefit of the Right to Education Act reach the most deprived children. So the idea is to ensure that all children, irrespective of their origin, are able to go to school, play, interact, and learn with other children of their age so that they secure for them a life of dignity and contribute to the betterment of the economy. So please donate to an NGO today and help them spread education by the following measures. Number one, uh, most important aspect to boost the spread of education is to spread awareness among the parents and the communities, and even child needs education. Am I right? The message needs to spread far and wide, and getting quality education is the legitimate right of all children, no matter which social or economic background they come from. Save the Children connects with the most backward communities where there are several instances of children squandering their children in fields and factories or dropping out of school, and the councils parents and elders on the importance of sending children to school. Uh, Another important aspect to improve the penetration of quality education among the most deprived children is to make learning a fun experience. Uh, Child education NGOs like Save the Children train teachers to impart learning using child-friendly and interactive teaching learning methods. The NGO sets libraries and the infrastructure right, conduct computer and English classes, promotes and facilitates extracurricular activities and sports. Uh, Thirdly, uh, the NGOs engage heavily with the local communities to form central groups and school management committees and work with them to ensure that they take accountability of the development of the central in their community. Massive enrollment drives are conducted in which out of school and vulnerable children are made and enrolled into formal schools in age appropriate classes. And fourth area is uh, group learning has proved to be one learning methodology which helps individuals learn better and fast and also promotes healthy competition. So in classrooms, the children encourages and helps children to undertake learning activities in groups. Uh, and lastly, metros such as Kolkata, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad are home to a large number of urban poor who live in slums or slum-like areas. And the children in these communities are often involved in child labor and have very little or no access to education. So Save the Children runs learning centers for street children and child laborers coming from socially excluded communities where they are provided learning and or after school support. And the idea is to groom these children and help them take the leap to formal schooling. Uh, so the importance of the role NGOs can play in the spread of education to different nook and corners of a vast country like India is undeniable. So together with the existing government machinery, NGOs can ensure that no child is left behind when it comes to getting education. So with this, let me say thank you. Thank you very much for attending to this lesson.